Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 16 millimeter film crew. I'm Cindy.
And I'm Dale.
You can watch us on YouTube. You can like and comment on our YouTube videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen to us everywhere podcasts are found at 16 millimeter film crew podcast. And you can visit us on our website at www.16millimeterfilmcrew.com. This week we watched Frankenstein, directed by Guillermo del Toro. A brilliant but egotistical scientist brings a monstrous creature to life in a daring experiment that ultimately leads to the undoing of both the creator and his tragic creation. This movie stars Oscar Isaac, Jacob Elordi, Mia Goth, Charles Dance, and Christoph Waltz. So, Dale, what are your thoughts about this movie?
I loved it. Like Guillermo del Toro and his gift for writing, like I would say him and Robert Eggers are two of the premier directors when it comes to depicting romanticism and gothic fiction and horror and that era romance fantasy, those kind of things. So, we've seen, Guillermo's work with not just this, but also Pinocchio, like his whole swath of his career has kind of led up to this point, you know. And I enjoyed it so much. Like this, Pinocchio Shape of Water, like this is what Guillermo's wheelhouse is perfect for him. Um, this picture beyond the subject matter of it, because everybody knows the story of Frankenstein. I particularly like this portrayal of it, the story of nature versus nurture, you know, how you're raised or who you are destined to be. I loved the visual artistry of it, like not just Guillermo's directorial style and how he translates his information. Like even at certain points in the movie, you could still close your eyes and still know and visualize what was happening. But the way the picture looked, like the set design, everything, you know, the beginning scene with the boat and stuff, and like a lot of the darker scenes. Um, this is how you light these dark kind of scenes, unlike what they did in Game of Thrones, the last season where you could barely see anything. Like this is the example of how you take those fantasy elements, those almost horror style elements, and you light them, you know, where you still get the darkness you're wanting, but you still enable the audience to still view and able to keep track of what's happening. Like all the elements in this film are like top notch. Like it's like perfection, really. It's like looking at like I know how people talk about Michelangelo and looking at the Sistine Chapel and stuff like that. Watching this gives me that vibe.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was like really good. I actually didn't know much about the Frankenstein story, so I was kind of going in
What?
kind yeah, I didn't read the book or anything. I knew about the woman who wrote the book, Mary
Mary
Shelley,
Shelley, yeah.
but in terms of like the actual book, like it's so much a part of like pop culture and like I don't know, just historic moments, I guess, of just like this mad scientist who creates this thing. It's like obviously reference to death and like a whole bunch of other stuff. But in terms of like me knowing the full story beyond the creation of Frankenstein's monster, I didn't really know what happened after that. So this was fun because it was like I got to like actually learn the story and see how like Mary Shelley was like very much like how she placed herself and her life into this story, even though it's about like a scientist and a monster. But what Guillermo was saying in an interview was that like it is very personal, the story to him, because obviously as a director, you're making stuff all the time. And he said that like lots of parts of himself, good and bad, are in a lot of the characters and stuff. So I thought that that was good because it made sense. It was like, yeah, this it makes sense for like an artist to relate to the story so much because it is about like an artist and her creation and also like understanding humanity. And I thought that was really, I think that was depicted very well in this movie, especially by Jacob Elordi. I think he did such a great job at
Mhm.
like bringing out I think bringing out like what it's means to be human, but also like what is important in life, which is like community and kindness. Like that really showed like through. Um, So I really enjoyed that. And just this movie overall, I loved the production design on this, the set design, like so amazing. Like all of my favorite things about how Guillermo makes movies is like in this movie. Like fabulous set design, amazing costumes, like great performances, practical, effects and I don't even know what to call those. Like all of the bodies and stuff, like as he's working through it, trying to figure out how he's going to create the monster, like all of that, I'm sure it was real. It didn't look like it was any CGI or anything like that. And there are elements of that stuff in there, but I feel like how he blends it is good as well. Like it's not like everything is like digitally like put onto this movie. And I really think that that's something that's pretty special to Guillermo is that like he is gonna do the real stuff. Like it's gonna feel real. And
Yeah.
so I really appreciate that about him as an artist. But just I mean, I don't know, grand like grand landscapes and like I don't know, everything feels so like rich and lived in. And I mean the cinematography, the music, the score by Alexander Desplat, like everything was working. Like this is a really good movie. Like I very much enjoyed it. And it has that like little cheese that I like too, where it's just like, just be kind. And it's like, yeah, I know, I like it. Like it's such a, I don't know, we hear that all the time, but like, I don't know. I like when I see it in films. Like, and I like that this film is actually incredibly modern. And I think the book is as well. Like,
Yeah.
the themes that they're talking about, like all the stuff in there is stuff that is like directly applicable to like what is going on today. And I felt like, okay, because I watched another movie this weekend, but it that also kind of speaks to like the moment that we're living in. I wasn't expecting it from this movie. So I really enjoyed that the themes were still very relevant to what was going on now, but it kind of stripped it back a little bit and was like, here's what life is really about. Like it's about these things. And I just appreciated that a lot.
Like it's and the thing with like I love about this with this movie in particular, the themes it's talking about, it's like it's for Mary Shelley as a writer herself, like she's one of the more we when we talk about women as far as writers, we talk about her, Emily Dickinson, like once again,
Hmm.
they're pillars for the most part of the Romanticism movement. Her, Edgar Allan Poe, Henry, Wadsworth Longfellow, all those people. But for Mary Shelley, I feel like her, like just as Guillermo sees the good and bad in him and all these characters that he wrote. It's the same thing with Mary Shelley. She was driven by a lot of different influences. Like her father was like a political theorist, like a proponent of anarchism. He believed like the monarchy at the time was unavoidable to corruption. That's the dynamic of Victor's father, being corrupt but being, a baron and putting pressure on Victor and stuff like that. And Victor therefore puts it on Frankenstein, the parent child relationship, kind of that flow line through, is inherent in her father's political ideology, her mother being a philosopher and women's right advocate. You see Elizabeth, as the beacon for Frankenstein, the one person who shows him kindness other than the old man, and the first person who does it as a woman. Then also like her husband was Percy Shelley, like he's a romanticism, philosopher and poet. Like all those elements in her life influenced her in her writing, and you see that no more than in this project here. And you're right, it's for something that was written in like 1880, 1818, if I'm correctly by my notes. Like it's still inherently very modern in its subject matter. Like it's one of those. For a story of Frankenstein, I know we've kind of tried to as a society paint it as like a monster movie, but those
Hmm.
themes are always like generationally hammered. Like you said, it's even pointing to what's happening right now. Like the themes discussed in this movie and in this book will never go out of style at all. And I think that's also probably why generation after generation we are seeing new iterations of this movie and these stories as time progresses.
Yeah. I and I don't I think the first one came out in the 30s, so And there's obviously been a lot more iterations of it since then. But I know even next year they're making a Frankenstein's bri and his bride, which
Yeah.
is another thing, another what is it, recreation off of an older movie that Maggie Gyllenhaal is doing. So I get the Frankenstein's having a moment, I guess,
Mm.
right now. Like, but I think it's interesting because like I don't know because I haven't seen like the original film, and I didn't read the book, so I don't know like what the character was intended to be in terms
Mm.
of Frankenstein's monster. But I feel like the direction that Guillermo took it in this movie, where it's a very much like he's starting off from like nothing, right? He doesn't have any knowledge or anything, so he's like building that up. And I feel like we've seen a lot of those stories of like born yesterday kind of characters. Um, and how they like understand the world and like through their experience what the movie is saying about what we're going through and like or what the human experience is overall.
Yeah.
And I feel like I saw that a little bit in Poor Things where
Yes,
it's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
you have this kind of Poor Things basically is like Frankenstein's monster
It
except it's a
is.
woman.
Yeah.
So it's just a different flip. But with that movie it was interesting. I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about the film overall of that movie, but I do think that like you can use that vehicle to show like what the human experience is all about. And I like that in this movie, it wasn't more about like I guess the sensual human journey. It was more about like how I think fear and like um and rage can put a character or put a person in a certain direction where they can be destructive. But as you were saying, the nurture versus nature thing, if you find people who do treat you with kindness, who want to talk to you, who want to, enrich your life with books and with memories and with conversations and like give you a home and a space to feel safe, like you don't have to be the thing that someone created you to be. Like you can actually do something different. Like we do have choice. And I think the character of Frankenstein's monster kind of struggled to like, who do you want to be? Because he's like, he'd be killing people. Like,
Hmm.
people would be dying. And they show all of it. It's very gory.
Yeah.
Um, but then there's like this tenderness to him. And I think with Elizabeth's character specifically, like their bond, whatever their attachment is like very pure and like sweet.
Yeah.
And that like helps him grow and be able to like open his heart to other people or just realize like no, I'm not just like a freak, like I actually am a person. I have thoughts, I have feelings, all of that. And I really thought that was great. Like that to me, her character specifically was like very much the heartbeat of this whole movie. It was like it was great. But also it's like the inverse with Victor because like he was brought up by a really harsh father but a really loving mother, and when his mom dies, like he has this very kind of black and white view of the world where it's just like things are violent and like so it kind of desensitizes him from like caring about people. And I think when he encounters Elizabeth, it's more of just like, oh, I found someone who's like my intellectual equal or something, and that's
Hmm.
what's attracting me to her. But I don't know if he actually cared about her on a deeper level the same way that the creation did.
Yeah.
um, so when he's like, I could love you, it's like, well, no, like she says it, like you don't know, you don't have a real heart, like you don't treat people well, like so I don't think so. But he does have like an actual deep love for his brother. So you can kind of see different versions of the character as he like from person to person, like
Hmm.
what he's all about. He's like a very complicated person.
Hmm.
I still think he kind of sucks, but I also think that there is some tenderness there. It's just buried underneath, like, I don't know, layers and layers of trauma.
Yeah. Just as, the monster is a victim of, of his creation, he himself is a victim of his father's creation. Like they're very much mirrors of each other.
Yes.
At
Yes.
least Victor had some understanding and sense of humanity, due to his mother. And that's wherein lies part of his infatuation with Elizabeth is because they also cast Mia Goth in both roles. So there's some kind of infatuation there with, oh, she looks like my mother kind of thing. Whereas his brother doesn't have that because, she died in childbirth with him. Which then ironically gets imposed on the victor, not the victor, onto the monster as well. That sense of infatuation with Elizabeth due to her care and attention of the monster, being the that maternal connection that Victor got with his mother. That's what the monster also got with Elizabeth. So that's why I also like the fact that their stories are they're parallel. Anyway,
Hmm.
they're literally beat for beat mimicking each other, both the creator and the creation in a way.
Yeah. And I really like the fact that their both of their point of views were displayed in the movie. The first half is Victor's and the second half is the creations. I really like that. Because I guess like again, I don't know how much the creation gets like its point of view in either the book or the earlier film. So
Mhm.
um again, if that was a different split, I'm not sure, but if that was a different thing that Guillermo decided to do, I think that it actually really worked. I had so much sympathy for the creation, which I didn't think I was going to. But then also like the way that Victor was treating him, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I think I see what's happening here. So,
I mean, I guess it was different for me. I was always gonna go into this with sympathy for the monster, knowing the influences from and the story is about like, nature first nurture is, is how parents interact with their children, that kind of thing. So I was already aware of that whole dichotomy of Frankenstein's monster is not the monster, Dr. Frankenstein is the monster kind of thing. So I was already cognizant of that. But the choice of Guillermo to now focus first half of the movie on to see what led Victor to that point, I thought also humanized Victor in a way because most times in retells of the story, we only get Victor as being this mad scientist. We don't get to see the human elements of him, and so I thought Guillermo decided to showcase that. Like a lot of times, we are not like the bosses of our own creation; it's just circumstances that are thrust upon us, and how we interpret incidents and things like that. Like this movie is like honestly, watching this movie is also very timely because I'm like I'm in my 30s, but I was at church. Like I had to like all like most of the men in my church are like 60s, 50s, for the most part. And doubly that they're from immigrant backgrounds, all of them from the Caribbean. And I happened to be walking out, and like my dad was talking to one of them about like, well, they're all talking about how this generation is different from them, and I was like, y'all are different from your grandparents, so on and so forth. So like, I found watching this movie very interesting after having to be a young person to try and correct adults and how they view generations and kind of thing. Like, it was very timely for me watching this movie after that conversation with these men.
mhm. I also feel like a lot of times we don't want to turn into like the older generation, and then we do end up making the same mistakes, which is I
Yeah,
think Victor definitely does that, and just his kind of cold approach to like how he treats people, and I don't know that his the moments with him and Christoph Waltz, especially where Christoph Waltz is like his benefactor or whatever, and he's Elizabeth's uncle, maybe.
his uncle, yeah, her uncle.
Yeah. And he is profiting off of the wars that are going on. And he's like, I'll just get you the bodies. I'll give you as much money and resources that you need to kind of build this experiment. It's for his own benefit.
Yeah,
But just the like cold, calculating, way that they view human life is interesting, right? Because it's like, okay, well, I think that is from Christoph's perspective, it's self-motivated. From Victor's perspective, it's like his obsession with death, his whatever. Because even when the creation comes to life, when he's able to do it, like he says, he doesn't know what to do after that.
yeah,
He's like, okay, well, why do I feel this way? Like, oh, I didn't think about it actually like working.
yeah.
um, but that whole dynamic is interesting because it's like that is how a lot of wars and a lot of terrible things have been justified. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? It's just like we weren't thinking about it that deeply.
yeah,
They're just numbers. We're not thinking about these people. Like it's so that was very resonant to me when I was watching it. I was like, oof, this is touching a nerve.
yeah.
But it's not like in your face, but it's there.
It's subtle. You got it.
Yeah.
Like, and I love what you mentioned a while ago is the fact that Victor is not aware of how to deal with Frankenstein because in his eyes, even though this thing is created as an adult,
Hmm.
he shouldn't have to do anything. The intelligence should already be there. It's much like how some people like. It's very easy to have a kid. It's very different to raise a kid. It's very easy to have a pet. It's for different to take care of a pet. That kind of thing. That unequipfulness, your assumption of this is easy, and come to find out it's not, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And even with you know dang Christopher
Hmm.
Waltz, his character, being Victor's benefactor is very apropos. Like because nowadays you have a lot of these billionaires, millionaires, some of these tech bros trying to fight against aging and death. Like these,
Hmm.
we already aware of them hoarding wealth, but you got some of them who are like, I think one of them is like taking like his son's plasma and a bunch of other pills to somehow slow down his aging. But if you look at the dude looks much older than what he's supposed to. Because like the dude's supposed to be in his 40s, but if you look at his face, he looks gaunt, like he's like 50 plus years old. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
that kind of obsession from, and like I said, he's a former surgeon. He's an industrialist. He has ammunition factories. He's like, I have this wealth. I'm afraid of dying. Fix it for me, kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah, very, like I said, it's like a
Apropos.
good, yeah, it's like I know what you're trying to say. And yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. So that was a really good thing. I like how the political stuff is just like nicely laden into the story. It's not too overt, but it's definitely there. And I guess that's owes to the actual writing of the books. I'm sure that that was in there too. And then I guess Guillermo's interpretation of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I just lastly want to say that I thought all the performances were fantastic. I
Mhm.
feel I love Oscar Isaac so much. Oh my God, he's my fave. Like him in a British accent, like yes, love it. Um, and Jacob Elordi doing a character who is very different than I think he's played, at least, or at least from what I've seen him in a
Yeah.
while, where it's like, and he was saying that like he went in, did not know like how he was going to play the character at all. It was like a blank slate, and that most like a lot of who he was kind of came through and through the character. So I thought that was an interesting note because like how do to me it's like playing Barbie. It's like oh, how do you know how to play the character? Like it's not a real like what are you basing it off of? You know, I guess you could base it off of like the first movie, but if it's a new interpretation, like you obviously don't want to copy, so you do have to do something completely different. And I really thought that he was so good. The physicality, but also just like his expressiveness through all of those prosthetics and the makeup and all that, he really was able to like deliver a great performance. I like Mia Goth in a like soft girl moment. Like she's a horror girly, like for sure, but I
Yeah.
like her in a more subdued moment. I think that's cool. I like seeing her that way. So I just thought everyone was fantastic. Like I honestly, this movie was great.
Yeah.
Like it really is. Like it was so unexpected. Like I don't know what I was expecting necessarily, but I really ended up enjoying this a lot more than I thought I was going to. So
I enjoyed it. Like Jacob Yohe's performance like blew me away. It was not
yeah.
something I expected from like this kind of stuff. I'm aware of Oscar Isaac. I think the only project Oscar Isaac's done so far that I did not enjoy was probably Moon Knight. But
Yes.
that's the whole
I'm not
MCU of
gonna
it
fault
all.
him on that.
Yeah.
That was
No, yeah, no.
not a great.
But
Yeah.
Jake, like, I did not expect this kind of performance from Jacob. It was very like subdued and very emotional as well. At the same time,
Mm.
something I did not expect from him. Um, but yeah, really impressed with that. Of course, Mia Goth, like, is the new horror girl, but she played an emotional softness to this. and this to me, this is like this version of Frankenstein, and Disney did the same thing, particularly with Werewolf by Midnight.
Hmm.
I think those two projects are the perfect example of kind of what I think Universal was trying to do with when they restarted their Monsters universe kind of thing, the dark universe. But instead of just focusing on the horror, they focus too much on the horror instead of focusing on the humanistic element of what these stories are. Because like Michael P. Jordan, whatever. Jordan Peele is very good at it. Is honestly a lot of horror is they are real world
Yeah.
experiences and issues just put in a fantasy horror setting. And I think that's what a lot of monster movies kind of forget. And like this movie, World by Midnight, Shape of Water, all of Guillermo's work really contextualizes, yeah, horror movies are really about the humanistic experience and what these elements represent. So, so on to the news. So it's kind of strange. It's kind of like this franchise is almost 40 years old, but it is now dominating the box office. Of course, Predator Badlands kicked off the month with almost 40 million in its opening and 80 million globally. This 20th century Disney reboot franchise went beyond people's expectations. It's also ended a kind of a slump um, for the last couple of weeks or days. Dan Trachtenberg, the director, um, is director of the picture. It opened well. It opened much, very, very ahead of expectations. Of course, I just mentioned with a franchise charting 40 million for almost 400 PCs, theaters. Pre-release had it making about 25 million. Overseas, of course, it took additional 40 million for that global 80 million. Um, the movie scored the top opening of the sci-fi franchise domestically, taking it from Alien vs Predator, which debuted the same almost at 338.4 million in 2004, which is not adjusted for inflation, and it's the biggest global opening of the franchise, so surpassing 2018's Predator, which made 48.9 million globally. Um, so that basically the weekend in totality pulled in about 883 million domestically. That's up 7% from the same time frame of last year. Of course, Predator Badlands did lead this charge, helping theaters recover from so-so performance from last month. Sydney Sweeney's Christie kind of technically bombed. Didn't even make the top 10 in theaters like Tron Ares, which is panned because why would you have Jared Leto lead a franchise that's kind of just a cult classic in a way? Couldn't even beat that. It only made so far just 1.3 million on about 2,000 screens. That's basically about 700 per theater it made. It's currently listed as one of the worst wide release openings of all time. So yeah, sorry, Sydney Sweetie, you're not as popular as I think you are. I guess I don't know. She gives the vibe that she thinks she's new Hollywood's new it girl in some of her interviews, and she doesn't have any substance. But beyond that, so of course, this year's box office so far, even though we're at the tail end of the year, is still doing about 3% better than last year's pace. So far, making about 7.1 billion to date. Of course, next weekend is gonna probably keep that same trend. Of course, you got Running Man, which is a remake starring Glenn Powell, which so far he's shown that he can maintain and carry pictures so far. Um, and also you got Now You See Me 3, which I'm not sure is going to do as well because I don't think the Now You See Me franchise is something people will look for, but also it being leading up to Thanksgiving as people are traveling and either you're at your destination with your family, want to get out your house. I think that's one of those movies you're probably going to get out to see just so you don't end up in the kitchen for the next couple of days. So hopefully, that momentum we have so far in the box office will continue. Because like we said, the film, not the film industry, but the theater industry is still has now fully recovered due to COVID. Due to a lot of these studios pivoting 100% to streaming platforms for the most part. So any kind of success so far is a good thing for them.
Okay, so in our next story, Paramount has apparently a blacklist for stars deemed overly anti-Semitic, which so I guess it's okay to be anti-Semitic, just not be overly anti-Semitic, I think is what they're saying. Um, so under the newly appointed head of Paramount, which is David Ellison, Paramount has decided, or they made it clear that they won't be in business as it won't be business as usual in Hollywood because they're trying to reconfigure the landscape by, I guess, not greenlighting movies with actors who have been in support of Gaza, because if you support Palestinians, you are automatically overly anti-Semitic, I guess, in their eyes. So, a new report from Variety shows that Paramount executives have been very outspoken about their stance on the conflict in Gaza. And this past September, the company became the first major Hollywood studio to publicly reject a high-profile letter signed by stars, including Emma Stone and Javier Bardem, that urged a cultural boycott of Israeli film institutions accused of engaging in genocidal and apartheid against Palestinians. And then Warner Brothers took the same position later. So Variety said that it has that Paramount is creating a sort of blacklist of talent that the studio will not work with because they are deemed to be overly anti-Semitic as well as xenophobic and homophobic. Whether the boycott signatories are on that list is unclear, but I guess who do we know? Like, who knows? Because, okay, let me just say this. The amount of people who signed that letter are like some of the biggest talent in this industry.
It's a
So
who's who.
not
It's
so
like
not working with them would be insane because you would be like you're fumbling your own bag. Basically, you're cutting off your own bag. Um, so that doesn't seem like that makes sense to me. But also, Ellison's goal is to turn Paramount into a MAGA-friendly environment. Um, and so I mean, oh yeah, and also they're trying to take over Warner Brothers. So there you go. Um, obviously this is that was the whole point of appointing someone like what's his name? Larry Ellison?
oh,
Whatever.
Larry
David.
Ellison is David is his son, but
Yes.
he bought it with he is the one who's now CEO due to being over Skydance with the merger to Paramount. Yeah,
So the Ellisons, they were put in place there, obviously, so that they could turn these huge studios into like a MAGA safety, I don't know, playground, whatever, however you want to phrase that. But like I don't know if they've met the people in Hollywood. Like they're not very right leaning. Like some of them are. Some of them are sure. Like you got your, Dennis Quaid's and you
yeah.
got your John Voight's. Like you got those
You
guys.
got the old
But
guys, you know.
in terms of like the people who are like bringing home the bucks, like who's going to get you a nice box office, who's going to get you all those awards, those people have sent a letter. So like in terms, if you're trying to create a blacklist, like Hollywood has notoriously blacklisted people over political stuff all the time. Like this, historically, they've done this, so it's not like this is new. But I'm saying the sheer amount of stars who have signed those letters, the sheer amount of stars who are fully in support of Palestine and who have made that known, like. What are you gonna do? Like you can't like there are some stars who are A-list who have not said anything. I think we know who those people are.
Yeah.
But but a lot of them have. So I'm like specifically thinking of people like Florence Pugh, Riz Ahmed, like Olivia freaking Colman. Like you're kidding. Like it's not even like why would you even think to like not work with these people because of their stance that you're claiming is anti-Semitic? Not that it is, but that you're claiming that it is. It's just like I don't see how that even works financially. Because to me, and like the studio heads more than anything care about money. Like that is their
Yeah.
bottom line. Like all this other stuff, eh. But like money, like that's the language that they speak. So I don't see how this even works in like reality.
I think, you know, Skydance. wasn't as big as Paramount with Skydance and money behind it. You know, they did a lot of produce a lot of Tom Cruise pictures, stuff like that. This is one thing of the money behind the scenes, not understanding how the industry works per se.
Right.
Because also they laid off. I think with the merger, they had to lay off about they told people either you come back into our New York or LA offices for 5 days a week, or you take severance packages. And they said about 600 people took the severance packages. And before that, they had 18,600 people on their payroll, and they had 600 people take a severance package. And it was reported those severance packages in totality cost them about almost $200 million. Um, and this whole situation very much, this is what our major concern was, with
Mm-hmm.
the idea of Paramount wanting to buy Warner Brothers. They at that point they'd have a monopoly and they'd get control of the narratives and what's put out there and what isn't. This is very much also it reminds me very much of when Bezos bought MGM, to
Mm.
create Amazon MGM, and he had like a 10 list edict of what makes a good movie. And unbeknownst to him, literally what's in his 10-page edict is literally what everybody has in the movie, but not to his understanding. Maybe
Mm.
maybe maybe there are the what maybe what he thinks is a good movie. Well, I should rephrase that. It was what everybody describes and wants done in storytelling, but I guess he didn't understand what he wants was already being done. It just wasn't to like the narrative standard he wants. You know what I'm saying? So
He
yeah,
also greenlit War of the Worlds starring Ice Cube.
yeah,
Have you seen or heard about that movie?
yeah. So
Okay, so there
yeah,
we go.
like
That's
it,
the level of Jeff Bezos' expertise.
yeah. So a lot of these people who, like I said, are born into money don't know how to make the money per se. They just say, "I'm rich, you're right." We have plenty of experience with that. Um, People with money entering the industry, they have no idea what to do with. But yeah, I'm not surprised. But this is honestly what we were afraid of with the idea of this
Yeah.
merger. So yeah. Um, Moving on to that. So as we were talking about Warner Brothers and Paramount, Warner Brothers Discovery also just gave us up a deadline. Of course, it will reveal by mid-December, which is in a couple weeks' time. Basically, the year is almost done. Whether splitting up entirely or selling off or staying course after putting itself up for sale in October. Of course, this is we're recording Monday night. So Sunday they posted 14 and $8 million quarterly loss, mostly thanks to its loss in TV revenues dropping about 22% and streaming barely going up to from 128 million subscribers. So meanwhile, Comcast has enlisted Goldman Sachs and Citi Morgan to explore a bid for Warner Brothers Studio and its streaming assets. Of course, Paramount, who's already made 3 bids that were all rejected, is probably also considering a nuclear option, which if it's both, which is a hostile takeover, which basically I'm gonna buy out your stock and absorb your company. But they would need at least 20% of their year-long shareholders to force avoid making this to make this surprisingly feasible, which I don't think that nuclear option will happen on Paramount side because once again they've already tried to restructure and they lose a lot more money again buying up another company and then because when you also do these mergers, you have to cut employment to make your money work. So it makes no sense from a financial standpoint, for the most part. So yeah, like I said, not looking good for Warner Brothers. Hopefully, I do think this. I do think they probably end up going the Fox route, like what Fox did, and selling portions to like Disney and stuff like that, while still maintaining other avenues, or just going back and splitting both companies up again separately, which probably the best option for both all parties involved. Like Warner Brothers go back to being Warner Brothers Wholesale, Discovery going back to being Discovery Wholesale. But I think David Zaslav also likes the idea about being this major company CEO, though, which
Yeah.
Zaslav has been HBO. Zaslav has been Warner Brothers' major problem since the merger.
Yes.
So yeah, the
Yeah.
CEOs of these companies be fucking up.
Moral of the story. Um, so Netflix has promised Zach Krieger theaters and then reneged. So, following his Weapon success, Netflix courted Krieger hard for his next project, a sci-fi film called The Flood. Film chief Dan Lin even flew to Prague to woo him, promising a theatrical release. But CEO Ted Sarandos has reportedly killed the theater plan and talks have stalled. So sources say Krieger won't sign on without theaters potentially taking the script elsewhere if Netflix won't budge. So Netflix, want desperately Krieger. They want him, they want hot directors like him, but they won't guarantee theatrical releases. So while Guillermo del Toro got just 400 theaters for Frankenstein in a 3-week run for the movie, and Greta Gerwig has secured IMAX screenings for Narnia next year. The questions become how far will Netflix bend its streaming first philosophy to land top talent? So I guess my question is like, I know that in order to be put up for awards and stuff, like your movie has to play in theaters. I wonder, especially considering the success of what was it?
K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yes, K-pop Demon Hunters. Like, I think that like putting these movies out in theaters first won't like it doesn't like um what's
Hamper.
disqualify, yeah,
Yeah.
or tamper with the fact that people will see it on Netflix later. Like, I'm pretty sure you'll have a strong audience for both, depending on what kind of movies you're putting out. Like,
Yeah.
because not everyone's going to go to the movie, so you'll still have the audience for the people who want to just watch it at home or want to watch it again. Because
Yeah.
I know I'm one of those people who like watching movies more than once.
Yeah.
Like, because some movies are just like designed for theatrical releases, and I feel like, especially with these younger directors, like doing the Netflix route makes sense if you're in like an established director who can have like a deal with Netflix where you can have a bunch of projects come out. Like you got that ironclad deal where you're making millions of dollars. You know, you have the freedom to kind of do what you want over there. But if you're just like really up and coming, like just starting to establish yourself, like you're gonna want the theatrical runs because that's a whole part. Like that's what kind of plays to social media and stuff, like people seeing it, word of mouth, that getting around. Like I think it's probably important for those guys like who are just starting out. So like I don't know. I feel like Ted should be flexible.
Yeah.
That's my unprofessional advice of not knowing how these things work, but like that's what I would do.
I mean, yeah. I mean, especially you want these established directors to come to you. Like you're already throwing money at them, and a lot of these directors are still, even though they want the money to make these projects, they're still pro movies for theaters.
Hmm.
Like no matter even the worst directors, like a movie, like they'll tell you, oh, when I think of movies, I imagine sitting down in a theater watching a movie. Like that's been my experience. They're not made with the idea of watching something on a TV screen at their home, you
Hmm.
know. So if you're gonna with Ted, if you want these directors and you want these projects and you want to be more of the Oscar buzz and stuff like that, Golden Globe stuff, that you gotta, at least give them their 3 week run. Because like you said, if I go and I watch a movie in theaters, like I want to like either I say okay, either I drive like 30 minutes from my house to go to the cheapest theater in Atlanta, which is $7, or I sit and wait for Netflix, or I go, oh, I can watch this illegally for free online. Pick like pick your poison. I after watching the movie once, like dang, I just gotta wait like a week and I can see it on Netflix. Oh, that's cool. And then after that, because I'm already paying for the Netflix subscription, you got me already
Hmm.
paying whatever $15 a month. I'm gonna watch that movie 10, 20 times after that. You know what I'm saying? I think it's more financially advantageous for them to, give them the 2 week release picture, and they make money off of this as well.
Hmm.
All the money does not just go to the theaters. They make money off the box office. So I think he just needs to get over it.
Yeah.
So, and as we're continuing this idea of CEO, I think this episode should kind of be tired. As news be just stupid CEOs, because HBO Max has a new strategy, which is a bit of a contradiction. They want to do prestige TV with broadcast procedurals. Of course, prestige TV. You're thinking your your original, um Law and Order, your ER, though a lot of prestige TV we used to grow up watching. But Pitt, one of my favorite shows that came out last year, after it got a major Emmy haul, it proved, I guess, this style works. You can mix procedural dramas and the streaming formula, and so they've embraced that now. They're creating a cop drama called American Blue. I think there are too many cop dramas, propaganda shows on TV at the moment, and a new family drama called How to Survive Without Me. And of course, what makes it different is, of course, they're making 15 episode seasons, about $4 million per episode with yearly releases. So you kind of don't gotta wait 2 years to watch 8 episodes with movie budgets. Unlike the old school way of we're gonna do a couple and they continue from there, and they also allow for more complex. Like this is the model I've always been a fan of because they do it a lot in the UK. We're going to give you 10 to 12 solid episodes of the show. Amazing. Cinematic level. 2 hours each almost. You know, and then we're going to hit you back in like a year and a half with season two. Or even sometimes they just do one season, but the story is so condensed, it's so concise, you don't even need season two. You know what I'm saying? I felt like this model was perfect for streaming platforms. I'm surprised it took them almost 10 years we've been watching streaming content almost. It took them this long to realize that's the way to go. Um so I think it's gonna work out for HBO Max because clearly now it also allows them to have a rotating scale because when one show wraps, you can have another one starting up in a year-round cycle without long digestion breaks. Because right now HBO Max does like the pit is once a year and then there's nothing else. So at least now you can have a rotation like, oh, summer, spring, it's this show, winter, fall, this show, and then keep it, going like that. So it's a good idea. Can't believe it took them this long to figure that out. But I've been saying this for years. No.
Yes, they should listen to you, Dim.
Yeah, they should. I got good ideas.
Um, but no, that's true. Honestly, I really do miss like the fact that you can have like the way that cable used to be where you could just watch your favorite shows like and even when it ended, it was gonna come back in like a few months. The waiting years to watch good TV, I think they stretched it as far as they could push it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I remember when they were doing that with like Game of Thrones, and I was like, I don't like this, but I guess I have to wait because because it's prestige television or whatever. But like the pandemic and the strikes, it kind of made it to the point where everyone's like, oh, okay, we want the shows now. Like it shouldn't take years for us to watch these shows.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're onto something. Are these the shows that I would want to watch these like 15 episodes of? No. I don't care for the cop drama or the family drama. Like,
Give me more pit. If it's the pit, I'm with it. Like,
yeah, like I want TV where it's like low stakes,
Yeah.
like nothing really happens. Like that's what I need in my life right now.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to, it doesn't need to be big and bad and prestige. Like it doesn't need to do all that.
Yeah.
But whatever. That's just my opinion. So in our last story, foreign language films have officially crossed over. What started as art house fodder is now mainstream entertainment, gunning for major awards. Distributors like Neon are already pushing 5 international titles this award season alone. So that makes a lot of sense. Streaming has had a huge part in that.
Mhm.
Like Squid Game, Lupin, those were massive. And now you have movies like Sentimental Value, which is coming out, or maybe has already come out, I'm not sure. That is like being teed up for the Oscars. Anatomy of a Fall, Parasite, those things came out a few years ago. Like those did really well. So yeah, I would expect that people wouldn't care about the subtitles anymore that much
Yeah.
because a lot of people I think that like the Korean dramas, the anime, like all of that, I feel like that really kind of repositioned audiences where they were like watching that stuff anyways.
Yeah.
So like when a movie came out that was from like another country, it wasn't like a big deal. Like they were still gonna watch it. And I think that had like a huge that made like a huge difference to like what people were like okay with seeing. Because I know that I don't know, I guess before people didn't want to watch international films, but like that's good stuff over there. Like
Yeah.
they are bringing home the goods. So a younger generation has kind of changed that, and also the Academy is a little bit more diverse than it used to be. So like we're getting more of that stuff and people who are actually voting for those things to win. That's a huge shift right there. So we can expect this trend to accelerate as streamers keep feeding the global appetite. And insiders predict that this year could shatter records with three or more foreign language Best Picture nominees.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less. Like,
I'm not like I said, I'm not surprised. You have a generation of people like you see you mentioned anime and stuff like that, or K-pop music, K-pop dramas. Like I
mhm,
think us as like millennials, especially in the class, if you're a millennial and were in school around the 2000s ish, or the 2010s ish, you already watching anime with subtitles to a degree online, and then you'd start getting influenced by K-pop music. You start listening to that, and then of course K-dramas. I remember in college, a lot of the girls are watching K-dramas, stuff like that. Guys are just chilling, watch anime. You know, our kind of generation of millennials has made it easier for these kind of projects to find more acceptance with the subtitles in culture. Like it's to the point where it's default for us, for a lot of us. I know for me, where I'll if I'm still watching something in English, I'll still probably put the subtitles on anyway. Or if I'm watching a new anime with some of my friends, I'll be like, all right, cool. It's a new anime, I'll watch it in Japanese or Korean with the subtitles on. If it's something I've already started watching, I'm less likely to do that. But I think it's also our generation has made it a lot easier. Like I don't think my parents would ever decide to watch a movie with subtitles on. I think it's
mhm.
it's it's a uniquely millennial thing, which is we've passed down to our kids and our brothers and sisters and the younger generation of, I guess, Z and Alpha, I guess. So yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what we've been watching this week.
I am in the midst of my rewatch of Interview with a Vampire. A couple weeks ago, they announced, I guess, season three, which is going to be about Lestat's focus. So I'm just been going back in like a day or two watching everything. It's like the funny thing we just talked about procedural or prestige TV. Interview with a Vampire season one is 7 episodes. Season two was 8 episodes, and it was 2 years in between the two of them. So yeah, I'm knowing how long. Well, hopefully with next season coming out, so I'm just taking my time watching like an episode every other week or every other day. So far, watching that, and it's like I said initially with the beginning, the gothic romanticism, man, is I guess a revival, I guess, in a way.
Mhm.
So
Um, I started watching The Diplomat, which is a show on Netflix with Kerry Russell. I stopped, like, I think I stopped at episode three or four. I don't know. It's just, I realized that I don't know if I like political dramas. Like, I feel like I had the same issue when I was watching The West Wing, where it's just like, there's too much going on. Like, there's every single episode, there's like five different problems that need to be worked out and solved in a myriad of overcomplicated ways just to boost one white man's ego. Like I just can't deal with it anymore. Like maybe that's what I'm living through. So I don't feel like watching it. Like I thought it was gonna be fine because
mhm.
it's not like I don't know, it wasn't like a West Wing thing where it was like in the White House, it's a diplomat, but it's too much and I don't feel like dealing with it. Like I have been watching Gilmore Girls, like that
Oh
is what I want.
God, it's fall. It's Gilmore Girls season for y'all.
It's
The pumpkin
fall,
spice lattes and
pumpkin
ugly
spice
UGG boots and Gilmore
latte.
Girls. It's fall.
I have never drank a pumpkin spice latte in my whole life. Like, have I even owned real UGG boots? I don't think so. But like, That's just what I need. I just don't want to think about issues because I'm also simultaneously like watching the news constantly. So I'm like, when my entertainment, I need it to just be like, I just want to have fun. I want to go to Luke's Diner and I don't want to think about the toils of the world. Um, but I also watched Begonia yesterday. That is the
Mm.
New York Ghost Lanthimos movie with Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. Um, it's always Yorgos will always be weird. So like it's weird, but like also very poignant to what is happening right now. Like again, it's one of those like all of them like big like important movies that are coming out are just about things that we're living through, just packaged differently by different directors who have like different viewpoints and different you know cinematic language to uh talk about these topics. But um I'm not gonna say too much about it. I'll keep it very brief because I do want people to actually go see this movie. Jesse Plemons, incredible. Incredible, absolutely. I don't know. He's just on a different level. Like what he does is so particular that I couldn't even describe it. That's how good he is. And Emma Stone, fantastic. There's a reason why she has 2 Oscars.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the movie is trained on her face, and just like what she does with her face is so, I'm just like, yeah, I get it. It makes sense that you are who you are and you're where you're at. Like I don't know, like I don't know how else. Like it's just like you're right. You're right. Yeah, great movie. And yeah, that was it. That's all I watched.
Emma's the new. Would it be Glenn Close? Not Glenn. Emma's the new Meryl Streep.
Yeah. Is that a good like,
It's a wonderful comparison. And Meryl Streep was very multifaceted as an actress, comedy, drama. I think she's really underrated when it comes to the drama portion of her career, to be honest. But
well, not Emma. She's
no, Meryl Streep.
well, not Meryl either. Meryl, that's the reason why we know her is
Yeah.
because she's a dramatic actress.
But she was also really good at comedy as well.
She's very good at comedy, yeah.
Yeah, so
I feel like Emma is like Frances McDormand. Like she does, she has a very particular, it's a very because like to me, Meryl Streep is like literally can do anything like genre bending. Like she's whatever you want to put her in, she'll do her thing and she'll absolutely eat. I kind of feel the same way about Denzel. Like Denzel does the same thing, but like put him in something else, like the Tragedy of Macbeth or whatever, serving, like absolutely devouring the whole thing. Like he's just that good. To me, like that's where Meryl sits. Like they're on some other
level, yeah.
Level. I feel like for like Emma Stone, Frances McDormand, they're doing like quirky, weird, like unexpected performances. Like it's kind of like, wait, what? Oh, that's what you're doing.
Amazing.
Interesting. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's like that. Like I feel like Emma's like that. Yeah. But anyway,
and,
that's
and I mean, well, she's free now because Yorgos is not making movies in the next 3 years.
Yes, so, and I think that's a good thing. Take a break. You're doing a lot. Like,
no, I don't know. What? I mean, if Yorgos is taking a break, after watching, Frankenstein, Emma Watson and Guillermo del Toro.
Emma Watson?
No, not Emma Watson. Emma Stone and Guillermo del Toro.
I was like, wait, Emma Watson's
the name Emma was in my head, and I went to watch it. But Emma Stone and Guillermo del Toro project, I will sit for that.
I see that. I see that, and I like that. Yeah. I'm picking up what you're putting down. All right. Anyways, let's get out of here. That is all from us this week. We hope that you're all taking care of yourselves and doing well. Make sure to check out all of our social media. Support us if you can. Like, subscribe, comment, all the stuff. And we will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.
Au revoir.